Hi, my name is Al Kerns. I'm coming to you from Appleton-Parkersburg High School in the great state of Iowa. I'm going to be talking to you today about motivating your team to do better and to be better. I want to mention that my presentation today is dedicated to the memory of Coach Ed Thomas. This presentation, although it's called Motivating Your Team to Do Better and to Be Better, is designed for leaders of any groups, any organization, any team, and I think we could all agree that motivation is a major factor in any group or team success. A little bit about the history. The philosophy on motivation that I will be sharing with you today comes from working with a great role model for over 30 years. His name was Ed Thomas. He is legendary in the state of Iowa for being one of the most successful football coaches in the state of Iowa history. And in the end, it was not the X's and O's or his offense or his defense that made him successful. What made him successful is how he treated people. This book, The Sacred Acre, was written about him after he was tragically murdered in 2009. Now, on motivating people, there are certainly many ways to motivate people. You can motivate people with fear, you can motivate them with money, you can really manipulate any of a variety of human needs. I call that manipulation, not motivation. What I'm going to be trying to share with you today is the idea that motivation is emotionally connecting with people in order to achieve a common goal. I want you to remember that I also strongly believe that motivation comes from within individuals. And I often tell the groups that I work with, I can't motivate you, but I do think great motivators can inspire people or make a connection with them so that they can find that motivation that lies within all of us. My first actual lesson in motivation came back in 1978 when I got my first teaching and coaching job. And I met Coach Ed Thomas. I was going to be one of his assistants. And we worked all summer on organizing practices for the fall. He was a very organized man and organized things down to the minute. We both loved football, so we spent a lot of time together, and he told me that at the first practice and at the beginning of each practice for the season, my job would be to do the stretching and warm-up activities. And being a young coach, I was so excited about this. I was highly motivated to do a good job. So I thought I organized what was probably the best warm-up activity ever designed. It got to be the first day of practice, and I was so excited to get started. And Coach comes out, and it was a few minutes before we were supposed to start practice, and I figured we would start a few minutes early, but I saw him do something that he did every day at practice until the day he died. He blew his whistle, and he went like this, and he said, "Bring it in, fellas." And all the football players got in a big circle around him. And he would begin to talk about anything and everything other than football. He talked to our young players on, this is how you treat young women. This is how I expect you to act in school. I expect you to be respectful to your teachers and the staff. I expect you to do your schoolwork. And each day he would add a topic, and he would talk about those things. Now, I'm standing back here on the first day going, looking at my watch saying, we're going to get off schedule if you don't be quiet pretty soon. You're wasting a lot of time. And looking back, I can see how stupid that I was, that I didn't understand what he was trying to do. He was trying to motivate his team. I thought it was not about football, but really in the end it was. And over time I learned that he was probably talking about today what we would call character education. I don't think we would call it character education back in 1978, but I think that's what he was doing. And I learned something. I learned when I watched these young men improve their character, even just a little bit, they became a better football player. They became more coachable, and they became a better teammate. And since that time, I have bought into this concept, and I truly believe that if you improve your character, you will improve your performance in every area of your life. And I really believe that, and I worked with that in the groups that I work with. We have always been about winning as a result of doing what's right. If you come to work every day, if you do your job, if you try to get better each day, winning will take care of itself. Now, with that said, character comes from within us, and motivation is a hypothetical state within us that moves us towards a goal. None of this can be seen, none of it can be touched. It's all inside of us. So I believe some people disregard this because it's somewhat non-scientific, I guess you would have to say, but it is real nonetheless. I believe that character is the royal road to feeling good. And if you feel good, you're going to perform better. I have young people come to me and they say, Mr. Kerns, I did this. And they'll be talking about they made a good choice in their life. And I'll say, it felt pretty good, doesn't it? It feels pretty good when you did that. And character then, to me, is emotionally buying into words that describe our character traits. Words like attitude, preparation, perseverance, honesty, integrity, empathy. You can go on. And I think to some degree, at the time I went to college back in the earlier 70s, mid-70s, we got Skinnerized. And we bought into the fact that if the people that we're teaching and working with do a task and we give them some external reinforcement, that's going to lead to them having higher self-esteem. Now, that concept to some degree may be true, but I think what we got away from is that the idea of self-esteem must be earned. And I believe it's earned by developing your character. When you do what's right and you feel better about yourself, you are developing that character and that esteem that comes along with that. Now, to perform well, we must feel well. And if that causes us to feel good inside, I believe we're going to perform better. And that's the character aspect of motivating your team. The second thing I think you need to do to motivate your team to do better and be better is to make that connection, to build those relationships with the people on your team. I use the quote, if you could see what I see, because I think as leaders, a lot of times what happens to me is I see someone I'm working with and I see what they can do. They can do it. But for some reason, they don't do it. And then I have to ask myself, well, if they can do it and they don't do it, why don't they do it? And what I've discovered over the years is something called the 800-100. Now, the 800-100 is a simple concept. It simply says this. We talk to ourselves at the rate of 800 words per minute. Other people talk to us. I'm talking to you right now at the rate of 100 words per minute. So, we talk to ourselves more than anyone else does. And that is what is the input for our great computer. Therefore, I believe if leaders are going to teach, if they're going to coach, if they're going to inspire, if they're going to motivate other people, they must develop a relationship with their team members and discover what their self-talk is. If I gave you a simple illustration, if I had a person here, or if I was trying to coach this person and I said, all right, you're standing here at point A, I think you can jump to point B, go, you can do it. If they're saying, no, I can't, no, I can't, no, I can't, they're going to beat you every time, 800 to 100. And they're going to become uncoachable. If I take a student from my classroom and I'm working with them on a concept and I say, you can do it, here, let me present it this way, and now you can understand this, but if they're going, no, I can't do that, I'm too stupid, I'm no good at this subject, then they become unteachable. And what you have to work with them is their self-talk. And if it's negative, you have to change it to a positive or rationally restructure what they're saying to themselves. So, and I guess it's as basic as one of the greatest books ever written. I can't make it any more simplistic than The Little Engine That Could, and the idea of, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And I know you're probably going, wow, this old guy, he's lost it now. He's telling us about a kindergarten book. But I think a lot of the things that we do learn in kindergarten are still so real. And we continue our education sometimes and we begin to think, all right, that's stupid because I learned it in kindergarten. But I believe it's so true in the area of motivation that we need to connect with people and see what their self-talk is. The third concept I want to throw out there today, and the idea of motivating your team to do better and to be better, is what is your team? And I think the motivation comes from developing those relationships that we talked about, but you have to make sure that you're doing that with your entire team. And to me, your entire team includes the best members of your team, backup members, people who you might consider average, scout team players, freshmen, people that you look at and you think, boy, I don't even know why they're out here. They don't seem to have a lot of ability in the tasks that we want them to perform. You have managers you have to work with, you have janitors, you have administrators, you have fans. Anybody that's associated with your team, I think you have to build relationships with them and try to get them to understand that they are a part of what you're trying to do. Now, you certainly can't talk to all these people every day, so you're probably going to have to lay out a plan. Am I touching base with these people? Some of them you certainly, I believe, need to do on a daily basis, maybe once a week, once a month, twice a year, something. But you have to include all your team members so that when you're doing this, you show them, hey, I care about you, and I'm going to treat you with respect so that they can feel that they're a part of this, so that they're open to the motivation and the direction that you're trying to give your team or your group. The fourth and final thing I'm going to talk to you today about is to be a role model. I truly believe that it's easier to motivate other people if you are a positive role model. Now, don't be afraid, that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. We all have character flaws, and when they show up, try to apologize or make mention of the appropriate thing. Once we recognize what our character flaws are, we can better identify the situations when we have to know that what's going to trigger us and what's going to cause us to do something that we might regret. We try to be consistent, not perfect, because character is about that consistency, not perfection. When problems arise, try to ask yourself, what would a person of character do? And I think almost everyone, no matter what age, if you say to do the right thing, most of the time we know what the right thing is to do. Do we have the courage to do it? And that's what we will find out about ourselves. But I think if we can be and work on our becoming a more positive role model, we certainly will do a better job of motivating our teams and groups. Okay, to sum up what I've been talking about, I have 4 points that I talked about today when I talked about motivating your team to do better and to be better. The first point was that if you improve your character, it will improve your performance. The second point was to build relationships with your team or your group's members so that you can learn about their self-talk, build trust with them, and they will be more open to your motivation. The third thing we talked about was identifying how big your team or group is, and that you must connect and build relationships with everyone from top to bottom so that they have the feeling that they are part of a group and that they're not overlooked. We all have the need to be a part of something good, and we have to feel that we're a part of it. And the fourth point was be a role model. Try to work a little bit each day to think about yourself and to become a better role model in your community and as you work with your groups. Live with character. I want to thank you for listening. My name is Kerns.